And welcome to WRPB and WRPB Studios. With me, the pretty young lady is going to teach you as I learn about a topic that I know nothing about. Yet I was kind of pulled into it, and I believe we all have a piece of it in our world. It's Allison Rouge with Essential Recovery. Did I get it right?
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. So I think when we talk about addiction, most people think alcohol and drugs, but there are more addictions than just that, correct?
Absolutely.
And I think when you take all these addictions and put them together, I don't know anybody who's not touched in some direct or indirect way about an addiction.
Absolutely. Now they're saying 1 in 2 people in America are somehow affected, either themselves or a loved one, with some type of addiction.
Now, I'm going to get this out in the beginning. You guys know I'm a survivor of sexual abuse as a kid. My cousin came down, told me his son was molested, and he took him to this psychiatrist and this psychologist, spent 50 grand, and I tried to explain to him, if the psychologist and stuff were never molested, they don't know and can't help fix it.
Right.
Most people who are in recovery, who work at facilities, are in their own recovery.
Right.
Which is where you're at.
Yep.
Okay. And I know, I hate to say it, but I'm proud to say that you have many multiple years in recovery.
Yes.
Okay. And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Okay. But you're not getting a thumbs up or a like on my Facebook.
Okay.
All right. Why did you decide to get into not your own recovery, but into the industry of recovery?
So I'm in recovery myself, as you said, and I went to a treatment center that I contribute to saving my life. And so when I obtained about a year of sobriety, I decided that I wanted to give back and become one of the same people that helped me. And so now I get to help countless people, and it's very rewarding, especially even to my own personal recovery. It reminds me of where I came from and where I don't want to go back to.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that it's very rewarding, but it's also could be very depressing.
It's stressful for sure, yes.
Because not everybody is going to take it the way it needs to be taken, and for lack of a better word, and I don't know if this is the right terminology, but they're going to fall off the wagon.
Right.
Okay? And if you fall off the wagon and you don't get back on the wagon, understand that your outcome is probably going to be homelessness, sickness, or death.
Right.
Okay? And you'll go through those because you can't save the world and you can't fix anybody who doesn't want to fix themselves, I think. Is that right? I mean, someone's got to...
Yeah, absolutely. And the staff gets affected just as much because we're so invested into our clients that we're affected by failures we see, and you're absolutely right. The only outcome we've seen with addiction is jails, institutions, and death. So we always try to push people to recover and get better and just live to their full potential.
Okay, so you guys know that I don't do drugs or drink, but my second wife was an alcoholic when I met her, cleaned her act up for 8 years, then got hit by a car and became a legal drug addict. Mm-hmm. And she overdosed, and I found her. So I was touched by it, and here's someone who's never really drank, 3 times drunk my whole life, and I owned bars and never even tried smoking pot, and now I'm pulled into this, like many people are, that don't have the issues. So this is a serious issue that touches more than just the person with the addiction.
Right.
When Mary, I'm just picking her name out of my hat, comes to you, and she comes willingly and voluntarily, do you get involved with just her, or does her support team, her family and stuff, get involved also?
Absolutely. So we call it a family disease. It's just a term in the industry. Exactly what you're saying, that the whole family is affected. So we do family counseling. We have family involvement. We have different resources specifically for the family who, like you said, have never touched drugs or alcohol in their life, or they might be affected as well. So we do try to encompass the entire family and get as much support for our clients as possible.
I don't know that it's funny because I learned a lot, one, from a movie called The Boost. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I haven't.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
James Woods, one of my favorite actors. And it's called The Boost, and it's about a guy in real estate who gets an opportunity to work in another state in a big company, makes tons of money, and someone pulls him into cocaine. And then he pulls his wife, and he goes from being successful to in the gutter, and then one cleans up, but the other is still addicted, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
Right.
If it's one person, it's one thing, but it doesn't usually touch one person in a family. Other people are touched by it. And I think, and I've heard this before, so Mary is 19, and she smokes pot. And Sarah, her younger sister, is 13. Well, Mary is going to pass that down to Sarah. Is that how it comes down?
I mean, we've seen that, and definitely, like I said, there are some genetic components to addiction. Science has found. So a lot of times it can run in families. Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, so in Essentials, what addictions do you work with?
So we are a primary substance abuse facility. So what that means is someone struggles with drugs or alcohol as their primary issue, but we are treating co-occurring disorders, which means there's typically some underlying mental health issues as well that contribute to the use of substances, like depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, those type of things.
Trauma?
Always, yes, trauma.
Okay.
We do offer a 12-week trauma program called cognitive processing therapy. We've seen amazing success, and we can actually grade tangible results and
Very
to
cool.
see at the end. Yeah.
Do you think, because when I was growing up, we didn't think about PTSD and,
Right.
and this and trauma. It was all related to peer pressure.
Right.
You still get a lot of peer pressure issues?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can speak even on a personal level. I, started smoking weed and drinking alcohol because I thought it would make me look cool, or I wanted to fit in,
Okay.
So yeah, there's definitely a component as well. But I think, like you said, trauma kind of opens the door to looking for us to fit in somewhere.
Okay, and it's interesting because we all have a backstory. I don't care who you are. We all have some sort of, even in the best lives, there are trauma.
Right.
Okay? You could you take the Kennedys who have tons of money, but look, they had tons of trauma with this one being assassinated, this one being in a plane. I mean, things happen to people.
Absolutely.
Okay? What do you think is the direction that someone takes once they start recovery? Because you did it. So what goes through your mind? Like, do you say, these people don't know what they're talking about? Or do you say, you know what, I need to shut my mouth and listen?
It depends. It
Okay.
depends on how much pain. So we always say we change at the speed of pain.
Okay.
Right. So in the beginning, of course, our brains tell us it's under control, it's okay, maybe you haven't had too many consequences yet. And then what happens is over time, because they consider it progressive, as in
Without doubt.
it gets worse over time. So over time now, all of a sudden, I might have lost my job, or I might have gotten arrested, or in extreme circumstances, I became homeless, right? So now you kind of get beaten into submission to a point where you're willing to do whatever it takes.
I mean, I kind of get it because we live in Florida. We have a very transient population here. There's a lot of homeless people
Right.
begging for money, and it's almost like we don't want to give them money. It's not that we don't want to help them,
Right.
but we don't want to give them money because we don't want them to do their addiction.
Right.
There was a guy in West Palm, man, he said, he had a sign that says, "Why lie? I just want a beer." Okay? You got to have some respect for that guy.
Yeah.
Okay? But your life could just go from a 10 to a 2
Right.
overnight.
Absolutely.
And this is not my expertise, but I'm going to tell you that I believe that marijuana is a gateway drug.
It definitely can be. For
Okay?
Sure.
And we were talking about it. We as human beings always try to push the limits. Okay? So, and then in everything. Okay? It's like, oh, look, that sign in that restaurant says if I can eat this 20-pound hamburger, I get it for free. I'm going to put I'm going to do it. I'm vomit for hours, but I'm going to do it.
Right.
Drugs are the same thing.
Right.
I'm guessing that you get this high, and then something or someone tells you, you think that was good? You should see how this works.
Right.
You're not a doctor, but where does it affect? Does it affect the brain?
Yeah, definitely the pleasure centers within the brain. I mean, drugs and alcohol produce dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical. And so once we get hooked to that dopamine release, we want more and more and more. And just like drugs, you build a tolerance to it. So it's, like you said, we're always going to be seeking more, wanting more of something.
And I'm going to guess the first year is going to be the toughest.
Right, definitely.
And these are things that I've heard, and I could be wrong. Do you put restrictions on people for that first year?
So the first year is really about getting into a good routine. We've seen really good success with addicts in early recovery who have structure. So a lot of times, like, we offer sober living, and in that sober living, we'll have rules, a set of rules where they have curfew, they have to breathalyze, they have drug testing, they do have to attend certain 12-step meetings, obtain a sponsor, and work some type of recovery program. And that's where we've seen people thrive, is in structure and in routine. So we try to get them into a healthy routine that's going to benefit them in the long run.
And I'm going to guess that you are going to try to make them independent, and probably one of the reasons you say that dating in that first year should not really happen.
That's a suggestion. Have we seen it happen? Absolutely. Okay. But it's a suggestion just so you can fully focus on yourself and your recovery. Because that is what we've noticed is a lot of times if people put work before the recovery, or they put school in front of the recovery, or they put a relationship in front of the recovery, we always say the first thing you put in front of your recovery is going to be the second thing you lose. And the first thing being your recovery. Right?
You know, well, it's funny because I heard that you came in a relationship, and I see it as, well, you know what? You get into a relationship, and that person that you're in a relationship wants to go out and have some drinks, or wants to take you to their friend's house where everybody else is drinking.
Right.
And for that period of time, until you break the habit, those things are going to be temptations for you. In my opinion, and I could be wrong because
and we've seen it time and time again. You know, unfortunately, it's already difficult enough dealing with one addiction, let alone two. Then a lot of times people in recovery tend to date people in recovery. So then dealing with your own addiction is one thing, but if someone has a bad day, unfortunately, they're going to most likely pull me down faster than I'm going to be able to pull them back up.
That's why I said watch The Boost with James Woods. It really kind of shows that scenario. Yeah. So I kind of get that. When you have a tough day, even now, this far along, do you ever think, hey, you know what, I should have a drink? Or do you ever think I should smoke a joint? It'll relax me.
Every now and then, it'll definitely be like a fleeting thought, but thankfully I'm so far into it now that I have other healthy coping skills. Like for me, I love going to the gym, I love being in the water, I love swimming, I love surfing, and so I tend to just go straight to those. Every now and then I'll be, because we go to concerts, we go to stand-up comedy shows, we go to festivals, we go to different things completely sober. And every now and then we'll say, oh, it'd be so nice to drink or party with these people. But in reality, for people like us in recovery, the party doesn't end. Right. So it's just better to just not even get involved.
And we're running out of time, but I wanted to ask you one more thing. Mm-hmm. Is it true that most people exchange one addiction for another?
Yes, that's very common, and you kind of touched on it as well. So a lot of times, and what we see at our facility too, is you put down the drugs and alcohol, and all of a sudden they start gambling, or they start smoking more, or they're drinking energy drinks, or they're having sex more, or they're shopping more, or work. That's a huge one, especially in our societies, replacing addiction with work, and now they're working 100 hours a week. And so that's why at Essentials Recovery, we try to treat addiction as a whole, not just put down the drugs and alcohol. We try to look at the core issues of why we're searching for something to fill that void in the first place.
Okay, so you have a facility on US 1.
Yep.
And I took a tour of the facility. Yep. And I was there and I met everybody there. I guess we met the whole staff, most of the staff, I think. And you got a great facility.
Thank you.
And it looks like a very comfortable facility to go to because you want that comfort level. Right. Because with that comfort level comes trust.
Absolutely.
Kind of similar here because a lot of people come here and they're like really nervous. And then I try to make them comfortable. I try to make them get through their interview. Right. And one guy came in a light blue shirt. It was dark blue. He sweat through the whole shirt.
Oh my gosh.
Interview. But almost everybody comes through here has a great time.
Yeah.
And has fun. And we try to make it simple and easy. How do people find you? Do you have a phone number?
Yeah, so I think that our phone number was posted up there, our office number. Also, I'm a community outreach coordinator for Essentials, so they can contact me on my personal cell phone as well.
Which is?
813-382-3311. And we are just north of the Roosevelt Bridge on US 1, directly behind Key West Diner. And it's hard for us to find us, but people are more than welcome to stop in. We're happy to give tours and kind of explain a little bit more of what we do. And we understand that recovery is individualized. So we customize everyone's treatment plan. People need different things.
Right.
So people are welcome to stop by and come chat with us and see what we can do to help them.
How cool. Are you there every day?
Every day, Monday through Friday.
Monday through
Yep.
Friday. It's essentialrecovery.com.
Yep. Essentials Recovery.
Guys, and they're on the east side of the road of US 1. Stop by. Say hello. Allison will be more than happy to talk to you because I made her talk to me for like 15 minutes. I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for
I want to
having
thank
me.
you for what you do for others.
Absolutely.
And you just have to be proud for yourself for all your years of recovery. You don't need somebody to tell you did a good job.
Right.
You should know that you did a good job.
Thank you.
With that, everybody, have a great day and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you.